Welcome back to the another video. This is the last video, at least for now, in the object-oriented programming series because we have covered everything. And after this, we'll start with like core data structure. So make sure you like, share, and comment and subscribe. It's we're doing the complete data structure algorithm bootcamp, one of the best that you will find here on YouTube for free, and it's gonna help you preparing your internship or job opportunity or new grad roles or interviews basically, or even online coding rounds and phone interviews, technical interviews, whatever. So we have covered like the entire object-oriented programming series. I've made a playlist on that. You can also find it in the description. The playlist for the DSA bootcamp also, you can find it in the description. And we have some amazing bootcamps upcoming. So make sure you subscribe and press the bell icon. In this video, we're learning about collections. It's very important because it makes our life easier. um, in interviews as well, in your online coding rounds as well, or if you're using some online platform or whatever, collections really make it easier for us to like write code faster and stuff, like use the ones that are already implemented. So this isn't like the only video for collections, because as we try to move ahead, like you can see so many interfaces and classes on the screen. I'll go into details of that. You can see sets, lists, queues, stack. You can see array list, something we've already covered. You can see linked list. You can see maps and all these other things, enums and all these other things. Priority queue, which is heap. So there are two approaches that makes this course special. One is we're actually looking into the what Java provides internally. So let's say in the next video we'll be learning about linked list. So what we're actually going to do is we are going to use the internal linked list that Java has provided us, okay, in the collections framework, and we will also create it on our own, like from scratch, which is very important in order to understand the internal implementation. So for every data structure we do, like maps, heaps, graphs, hash maps, or whatever, we'll be using collections, and we'll also be creating it on our own. Okay, and then we'll be doing interview problems of like Google and Facebook, which is now Meta, and Microsoft and Amazon and all these other companies. Cool. So let's move forward. Collections in Java. What is the need of this? So it's just a framework, right? Framework is just like a collection of files and things like that. So we can reuse it. And basically the idea is that before the collections framework, what used to happen was that you have so many data structures, right? In Java, you have like arrays, you have hash maps and all these other things. Okay, so you can see so many are here, like arrays are there and hash maps and all these things are there. So before collections, what used to happen was these, let's say these data structures have some common, let's say, use cases and functions that we can perform, like add, remove, get, delete, or whatever, all these other things, right? So what was happening was that there was not a common thing for this, like a common interface for this. There was like a separate implementation for every single one. So it was really difficult for people to like, okay, remember everything, different for different data structures and all these other things. Then came into picture collections framework. So what collection framework is doing, it's basically helping us in providing a single interface. Okay, it has like a set of interfaces. It has these API calls that we'll just click onto, like .get, .remove, or whatever, and all these things like that. And these methods that perform these functions, all of these things like you see on the screen, like stacks and linked list and priority queue, tree, map, or whatever, they have some common set of methods. Okay, so data structure is different, but the method is same. So what is this doing for us? We have learned about this particular approach previously. What was this approach in object-oriented programming? Abstraction. Okay, we already covered this in the abstraction video. Okay, cool. So it helps us in like remembering less things or whatever. So in java.util you will find this all the classes for this thing and interfaces. So the two main ones that you can see on the screen, one is over here that you can see, it is known as the collection one that you can see over here. Let me just bring my pen, this one. And the second main one is the map. So these are interfaces. Okay, these are interfaces. They basically contain some of the, like these abstract methods or whatever, and then we can use this to implement it accordingly. Okay, so this contains, like, let's see what it contains. Let me bring up my IntelliJ IDEA. So I'm going to say collections. Collections main. Okay, public static void main or whatever. Collection in java.util. What does it contain? Let's see. So it contains size, is empty, contains iterator, which is basically used to iterate upon the the particular object or whatever. To array, you can create it in an array. To array of generic type, we already learned about generics before. Okay, add, remove. So are you able to understand what we are doing? All these things like arrays and array list or stacks or queues or linked list or heaps, all of these have these functionalities. Like, okay, you will be having a remove, you will be having a delete or whatever, right? You will be having an add, you will be having a contains all, a copy or whatever. So Java was like, okay, if all of these things and functions are common to each other, I'm just going to put it in an interface. How they are utilizing it depends on that. So for example, if I say list is an interface, as you can see over here, you can see that there's a set interface and there's a collection interface, and list actually extends the collection interface. Pretty straightforward. As you can see, extends collection. So it's like, hey, I am list. I also have some things like size and is empty or whatever. So these are the things that I have that are actually in common with collections. So I'm just going to extend that, no problem. It's kind of like, yeah, sure. This itself is an interface. So when you create an object of this list type, as you can see over here, this list extends collection. So we already covered this thing before. List has some functionalities like get the size, is empty, contains, that is common to collection. So it's just extending that. Okay. And what are all the things that will implement this particular thing? So basically, these are all the features that the list interface provide. Obviously, any class that implements this would have to override these. We've already covered in detail about interfaces. Okay, so let's say you want to create a linked list class or whatever, right? So if you want to create a linked list class, it will have a different implementation of size, but the function, the body would be same. No, not the body. The definition is same. Another type of list can be what? What is another type that can use all these things that list is providing? Array list, vector, stack. Okay, we can see this in action also. So list of type, let's say integer, list is equal to new. I can say array list. This is what? This is the parent, obviously, because array list is, you can see, implementing list, right? So this is the parent and this is what? Child. And we know that we've already covered this in detail, that the type over here of the reference variable can be of type parent and this can be of type object, like or type the object of class, sorry, the object of child. This is an object of child and this list is actually a parent because this is implementing it. So internally, linked list would be having some implementation of all the things that the list interface provides. Okay, that's it. Cool. Now you can use it. Okay, so what else can you make over here? You can see we have an array list. You can also make a linked list if you want, right? So you can say copy paste list to, I can say new linked list or whatever. Okay, so these are the internal implementations that Java has already provided us. Obviously, we'll be making it on our own as well, like a custom implementation. So you actually know, okay, Kunal, we are using the collection framework or whatever, but how does it work internally? What if I have to write this entire class by myself or whatever? How will we do that? We'll actually cover that as well. Okay, so as you can see on the screen over here, the collection is an interface. This image you can find, I believe, from Google. Just go to Google Images, type collection framework diagram. So many ones you will find. So here you can see that there's a collection framework and it has like a collection interface that all of these other interfaces extend those. So I know interface can only extend an interface. That's why we have list extend another interface collection. So it will actually use all the methods that are provided over here. Similarly, we have for map, right? Tree map is all these other things we'll cover in later courses, right? So it's just an introduction, and this is not like the complete video for this because I'll actually be teaching you. Would it really make sense for me to demonstrate hash maps right now? No. So whenever we are doing a new data structure, that is the time when we'll actually look at the collection and also the implementation of it. But yeah, this is a little bit about it. Like you can also see like the methods that this provides. So list.add, list2.add also has the same thing. List.isEmpty, list2.isEmpty. It is also having the same thing. Okay, so that's the general idea. So you can even try it. So even though we have not done linked list right now, I can just say add 34 or whatever. Then I can say list2 dot add 78. Then I can say list2 dot add 55. Okay, and I can do one more and say list2 dot add 89 or whatever. Then I can say list2 dot, does it have a display or whatever? No. Let's see, let me just try to print this. List2, run, see what we'll get. Okay, so you're actually getting it. So this may be having its own like toString somewhere over here, but we're actually getting a nice little linked list. Okay, what is linked list? We'll cover in the next lecture. Next lecture we'll starting with data structures, like complex data structures for interviews and stuff. So yeah, we'll cover in details about it in the next lecture. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Cool, let's move forward. Okay, and one more you're seeing over here is vector. This is something new that people asked me, Kunal, please make a video on this. It's actually pretty straightforward. So it's sort of like an array list, but there are a few differences. So first one is that vector is actually synchronized. What does it mean? It means that, let me just get my iPad over here. So vector synchronization means that only one thread can access it at a time. Okay, in computer we have threads, so we'll learn about multi-threading in like a separate course. But for now, like various processes, like accessing a particular data structure or whatever. So in array list, what happens is that multiple threads can access the same object. Okay, the array list is not synchronized. So if there's like multiple threads, like thread A, thread B, thread C, thread D, all of them can access the array list object like this. They all can access it, all of these threads. But in vector, what happens is, and this is also, as we can see over here, it's implementing the list interface. Okay, it's implementing the list interface. So the array list and vector, obviously, like the methods and stuff we'll be using, that's sort of similar, but internally it's different. That's abstraction being provided to us, right? We don't really care how it's working internally or whatever. You are providing synchronization, that's fine to us. But in vector, what happens is that thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, thread 4. In vector, what happens is you have thread number 1, and if thread number 2 wants to access this particular object while thread 1 is still working on this object, it will be waiting. It will be waiting. Okay, so which one is faster? Array list is faster because it's like not synchronized and stuff, and in vector you will have to wait and everything, but that's it. So if multiple threads access like your array list, then it may be able to add or modify things from the list, but in vector, not multiple threads can access it at one time, only one can access it at one time. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward. So let's see a code sample for this. All right, so let's see vectors, vector example. So it's pretty, I can just do it here only. So since it's like same list, so I can just create list is equal to new vector or whatever. Vector is equal to new vector, right? Then I can say vector dot add. So you can see what's happening, right? It's having the same particular stuff, but internally it's different. Okay, 45. Then I can copy paste.
I'm not sure.
Alexa went off. Never mind. 5, 15, 56 or whatever. Then I can just print it. So it's similar to array list, but the differences I've already mentioned. Okay, like it's synchronized and stuff. People often use prefer using array list because it's faster, and with collections you can actually make it thread safe as well, like synchronize as well. But yeah, that's like one of the reasons that they use it for. Okay, it's pretty much about it. You can use anything you want, but since this is not that fast, if you're doing some interviews or whatever, if you're not dealing with multi-threading applications, I'd recommend using array list. Okay, yeah, let's move forward. Now let's talk about one more topic, which is people ask quite a lot. Enums, enumerations in Java. So what are enums? Enums are basically it's like a group of variables, okay, that you cannot really like change. It's like a constant, okay. So what is the idea? The idea is that for a particular class, you need a number of particular objects only. Okay, so let's say you have a class called months. Okay, what are all the objects that can exist? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Can there be a 13th month, 13th object? No. Okay, so we use enums for this, and we'll talk more about like what are enums and how they differ in like C++ or whatever, because in Java you can also add like variables and stuff and constructors and methods in enums. So the idea is that we can define our own data type as such. So if you want to talk about something like let's talk about colors, for example. Okay, so you can add blue, yellow, orange, something like that. Okay, so let's see how we can work with it and what actually are enums. Okay, so let's learn about enum, what we mean by when we say, when we say they are like constants. So let's see. And you can't really create like new objects for that. It has constructor, but like we'll see, no problem. Package, and when you say enum examples, refactor enum examples, and then we say something like main, okay, or I can say like basic or something like that. Okay, so use the keyword enum. This is syntax. You say enum, this is the overall type. You can say week or something. Now here you will have week, weekdays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Okay, so these Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, these are basically called enum constants. These are enum constants. I'll tell you how it works internally as well. Constants. Okay, and every single one over here is public, static, and final member. Public, static, and final. So if it's static, then you can obviously access it, via the name, the week. Okay, if it's static, so by default they are public, static, and finals. And since it's like final, you cannot create like child enums. Okay, so since it's final, you can't create child enums. We talked about like final prevents inheritance in the inheritance video, so make sure you check it out. Okay, so the type is what, Kunal? What is the type of these things? The type is where they are declared. So the type of all of these is week. Type is week. How do we use it? Very simple. I can say week, and then I can say weekday or something like this is equal to my week dot Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or whatever. Let's say Monday. Okay, something like that. Cool. I can also iterate over it. I can say for every week, in a week is already defined, for every, let's say, day in my what, in my week dot all the values that it contains. What do we do? Just print the day, something like that. Okay, let's try to print it. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay, easy. So that's basically about it. If you just try to print week, let's see what will happen. Monday only, because Monday available over here. If you try to print week dot something known as ordinal. What is ordinal? Let's see. Ordinal says that the position of the enum declaration. Print. So what? 0. This is 1. This is 2. This is 3. 4, 5, 6. Okay, so that's pretty much about it. Cool. One more thing, let me show you. If I create a constructor, okay, if I create a constructor like this, and I'm saying constructor called for something like, I can say, for this dot toString, for this object, current object, toString. Okay, it's actually saying it's not required, so I can just print this. Let's see what we'll get. If we would have to do something, I'll do it, override or whatever. Let's see. So let's say I'm just creating one single variable. Okay, let's see what will happen. So this is weird. Kunal, you just accessed one of these particular objects or stuff. These objects, you have like defined 7, you accessed one, but the constructor actually ran for all of those. What is happening over here? So the constructor over here that you can see, I'll just write over here. This is not public or protected. Okay, so only private or default. Why? Good question. Good question. Because if we created public or protected, it will allow initialization of more than one objects. We only want it to be like constant number of objects for week. That's why it's not public. We don't want to create new objects or whatever. Okay, because this is not the enum concept. That's why. Okay, so if you want a fixed group of objects, then that's when you use enums. So when I have a class known as a month, then you can have 12 objects for it. So January, February, March, April till December. Okay, pretty much about it. So internally, it's something like this. Internally, it's something like this. Public static final week Monday is equal to new week. Something like this when this constructor is being called. So internally it works something like this. Okay. Now let's talk a little bit more about inheritance. I'll obviously mention it in the notes, so you can check it out later on. But in the notes, what I'm going to share is like about enum and let's say inheritance. So how can we work with that? So all the enums explicitly extend, this is the first point, java.lang.enum class. Okay. And we know that in Java, multiple inheritance is not allowed and a class can only extend one parent class in Java. So an enum cannot extend anything else. Okay. You can't really extend anything else over here in this enum. Okay. An enum cannot be a superclass either. And the toString methods, I printed this, it actually printed the names or whatever. So it actually is overridden and it prints the name of the constants. Okay. So you can see this was actually printing the name of these things. Okay. But what about like interfaces? If I have an interface over here, I can say an interface A and it contains something like void hello or something. Okay. Can I really implement an interface over here? Implements A. Yes, we can. And I can implement the methods like this. Hey, how are you? And I can call it. I can say week.hello. It will just print hello, how are you? Okay, so here you can see it's printing hello, how are you? So enum can implement as many interfaces as you want. Okay, but it cannot like extend classes or whatever. Cool. And how are these compared? We can compare for equality by using the equal to relational operator. Okay. And we already talked about like the values method. Ordinal is just like order, the index basically, and that's it. Yeah. And value of, did we cover that as well? Let me just see. Week dot value of, week dot, I think this should be somewhere over here. Value of, here I can pass Monday or whatever. Let's try to run this. So it's actually returning the enum constant. It's actually returning the enum constant value of. Okay, I'll mention this in the notes as well. Okay, we already talked about the constructor, like it can have constructor and it's executed separately for every enum constant at the time, when you load the enum class, and you cannot like create objects explicitly, and that's why we cannot invoke this constructor explicitly. It will only happen when we try to access something, and we know even if we try to access just one, it will actually call all these. Okay, so that's basically what is happening, and yeah, cool, awesome. What else? We already talked about methods, so it can contain. So we mentioned like we cannot inherit it as or whatever, right? An enum, so it does not really make sense for overriding things, like whatever is inside the enum to other one. That's why all the functions and everything you have over here. So for example, if I say void display or whatever, so this is not allowed. It's saying abstract is not allowed over here, so a method body is required. Okay, so abstract are not allowed. Okay, sound good? Awesome. Well, that was it. Object-oriented programming is now a thing of beauty. Check out the complete playlist, and now we'll be doing some advanced data structures and interview problems. So yeah, make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one when we do linked list. So yeah, see you there.